Have you ever walked into a room and felt the immediate physical urge to shrink? Have you ever found yourself lowering your voice, dimming your natural enthusiasm, or hiding your true talents just to make the insecure people around you feel more comfortable? We often confuse this behavior with humility. We tell ourselves we are keeping the peace. We manage the fragile emotions of others so they don't feel threatened by our success. But deep down, we know the darker truth. We are not being humble. We are afraid. We are terrified that if we unleash our full potential, we will be rejected, abandoned, or labeled as too much. You feel a knot in your throat, a phantom weight on your shoulders, and a constant, draining exhaustion. But this safety is a dangerous lie. When you shrink, you don't just hide. You leave the gate open for real monsters. We will see how this mistake nearly cost Titan everything. Stay with us. Because the moment Titan finally unfolds his true size is the moment you will realize your own power. It is an exhaustion that sleep cannot fix because it comes from the soul, not the body. If you have ever apologized for taking up space, or if you feel like a Ferrari forced to drive in a school zone, burning out your engine just to move slowly enough for everyone else, this story is for you. In a neighborhood where appearances mattered more than reality, lived Pip and Baxter. They were two small Jack Russell Terriers with loud voices and dangerously fragile egos. They ruled the yard with a tyranny of noise, barking at falling leaves and passing shadows. They did this to soothe their deep-seated anxiety. They believed they were kings only because they had never been truly challenged. But living among them was Titan. Titan was a Great Dane. He was a mountain of muscle and velvet black fur, designed by nature to be a guardian. His physical presence was undeniable. He was built to command respect simply by existing. Yet, if you looked at Titan, you wouldn't see a king. You would see a giant trying desperately to fold himself into a shape that didn't exist, like a lion trying to pass for a house cat. Titan had learned a painful lesson early. As a puppy, he grew too fast. One day, in a burst of joy, his tail cleared a table, shattering a vase. He saw the flash of annoyance on the faces he loved. He heard the sharp intake of breath when he entered a room. Without a word being spoken, he internalized a devastating lie. My size is a mistake. My power is a problem. If I want to be loved, I must be small. If I want to belong, I must be harmless. So, Titan learned the art of shrinking. It became his full-time job. He walked with a permanent slouch, head hanging low, eyes averted. He moved through his own home like a clumsy guest, tiptoeing on paws meant to run miles, terrified that his very breath would disturb the peace. He softened his bark into a pathetic whine. He convinced himself this self-betrayal was kindness. But it was a trauma response known as fawning, appeasing a threat by erasing your own identity. He would watch the birds fly and feel a phantom ache in his legs. His body was built for galloping, yet he forced it to crawl. He was a prisoner living in a jail cell with open doors. The cost was his soul. Titan was exhausted. His muscles ached from the constant tension of holding back an ocean of energy. He was a storm trapped in a bottle, constantly monitoring the room. He ensured everyone else was happy, even if he was miserable. Pip and Baxter, sensing this lack of self-respect, treated him with disdain. In the animal kingdom, hesitation is weakness. They mistook his gentleness for cowardice, nipping at his ankles if he breathed too loudly, asserting a dominance they didn't earn. They had no respect for a king who knelt before jesters. Then came the day the garden gate blew open. From the dark woods emerged a stray scarred mastiff mixed with yellow, calculating eyes. He wasn't looking for a home. He was looking for a victim. He brought with him the cold, hard chaos of the wild. Pip and Baxter reacted with blind, frantic aggression, barking sharp warnings. But the stray didn't run. He simply stopped, curled his lip. He let out a growl that vibrated through the ground. The reality of violence had entered the garden. Pip and Baxter froze, their bravado evaporating instantly. They scrambled backward, yelping. They suddenly realized they were prey. Titan watched from behind the oak tree. His instinct screamed, "Don't be big, stay invisible, don't make a scene." The fear was a cold hand gripping his heart, whispering to run. But looking at his trembling family, a deeper ancient instinct roared. The blood of kings cannot stay frozen forever. Seeing the inevitable destruction of his home, Titan had an epiphany. He realized his humility was not a virtue. It was negligence. He understood that his silence wasn't keeping the peace. It was inviting chaos. A king who acts like a servant leaves the throne empty for monsters to occupy. By refusing to occupy his space, he had left his world vulnerable to those who would destroy it. A switch flipped inside his chest. The shame burned away in the heat of duty. The nice guy died. The sovereign was born. Titan stepped out. He didn't creep. He unfolded. It was a transformation that looked like magic, the breaking of an old spell. He straightened his front legs like granite pillars. He raised his massive neck, vertebrae by vertebrae. He rose until he towered over the bushes. He expanded his chest, taking in a breath that puffed out his ribcage to its full, intimidating width. He stood at his full height, 150 pounds. He was 150 pounds of focused power. He cast a shadow that swallowed the intruder. The stray stopped dead. Titan didn't bark. Small things bark to prove they are big. Giants simply are. Titan walked forward, his steps thudding against the earth with absolute authority. He placed himself directly between the stray and the trembling terriers. He stood like a wall. A low rumble started in Titan's chest, a tectonic growl that said, "This is my domain, and you have crossed a line." The stray measured the jaw, the shoulders, and the utter lack of fear. The calculation was simple. There was no meal here worth dying for. The intruder lowered his tail, broke eye contact, and slunk back into the woods, repelled not by violence, but by presence. The silence in the garden was different now. It was not the silence of fear. It was the silence of order. Titan turned to face Pip and Baxter. He didn't apologize for being terrifying. He didn't hunch over to make them feel better. He didn't wait for applause or validation. Sovereigns don't need permission to exist. He simply sat down, calm and majestic, resting in certainty. For the first time, he took a breath that filled his lungs completely. The tight band around his chest finally snapped. The air tasted different up there, cleaner, sharper, and free. The small dogs didn't jump on him. They looked at him with awe and respect, feeling safe for the first time because someone was finally in charge. Titan realized he didn't need to shrink. He needed to be himself to bring balance to it. By occupying his God-given space, he found the peace he had been searching for. So let me ask you, are you a Titan living the life of a terrier? Are you folding yourself in half to fit into a box too small for your spirit, hoping that if you make yourself small enough, people will finally love you? It doesn't work. When you hide your strength, you don't just hurt yourself. You rob the world of your light and your protection. You were not born to apologize for your existence. You were born to unfold. Stop shrinking. Stand at your full height. The world doesn't need more people who fit in. The world needs giants who are brave enough to stand out. If this story spoke to your soul, share it. Subscribe for more stories that unfold the truth. And comment below from where you watch us.